Hello and welcome to another episode of Bare Bones Fishing. My name is Mike and welcome to the YouTube channel. So in this episode here, I have a compilation of a couple outings I did with a buddy of mine, Brett Thorpe of Brett Outdoors. Be sure to check him out on Instagram as well as YouTube. And so our first outing here, this is in the fall. Brett challenged me to use a jigging wrap, which was a lure that I'm not super familiar with, but decided to give it a shot on this dreary, wet afternoon. We managed to miss some of the rain, but you can see it's pretty overcast. So we started off the afternoon doing pretty well. You could see a lot of these fish that I catch are foul hook. So we started off this afternoon pretty good, catching quite a few fish. But as the afternoon wore on and we got into the twilight hours, the bite really slowed down. This would have been probably mid-October, if I'm not mistaken. So you can see another fish here, foul hooked, unfortunately. That's the third one that I had foul hooked using the jigging wraps. Got that guy right in the belly, so off he goes. Now the colors that we were using this day were bright colors and shiny colors, chartreuse and fire tiger. We had some silver and golds as well that we were using. Primarily because the water was a little bit dirty on this day and not a lot of water clear or a lot of sunlight coming through. So you can see another fish foul hooked. So I obviously have a lot of work to do with the jigging wraps. Like I said, still getting used to using them, but they did work out quite well. The fish were on them quite a bit. In the second trip here, this was a kind of a midday trip. And it was really windy this midday trip here, so much so that we actually had to call it a little bit early. But the action was fast and furious for the hour and a bit that we were out there before we got blown off the water. And so on this trip, we decided to kind of throw a whole bunch of stuff at the walleye. And so I was starting off with my jig and plastic, as I typically do, and caught a few with that. Brett managed to catch a few with what's called a pitch and puppet, which is very similar looking to a jig and wrap. And then he also used jig and minnows. And as you can tell by the footage here, he cleaned up on this day, caught lots and lots of fish while I was doing most of the netting. So same thing on this day. It seemed that the brighter colors were really key, using the chartreuse, fire tiger colors as well. You can see I do a lot more running around on this trip for the net. Brett is just picking them up one after the other. He also has a live scope unit on his boat, which was a lot of fun to use. Didn't get much good footage of it this time around, but hopefully when Brett and I start heading out in the fall or the spring, again, we'll be able to pick up some of the footage there. This is one of the nicer fish we caught. I almost botched the net job, but we managed to get it done. So here, Brett and I end up with a double. And this would have been one of the last catches we made on this day before getting blown off the water. So on these last couple of trips, we were using live bait, which is actually something that I don't use much in the fall, and so we just had jigs and minnows on these last couple of trips. And so we're going to take a little break here to take a look at this fish. So if you take a look inside of this fish's mouth, you'll notice that their air bladder has started to come out of their throat. And so this is actually fairly common when you bring fish up either really quickly or from really deep down. And so if you ever see me in a video checking a fish's mouth, and I've had that question before because you see me do that from time to time, look in a fish's mouth before I throw them back, that's what I'm looking for. If I see a prolapsed air bladder, or if I see blood or anything like that, or bubbles coming from their throat, then I'll typically keep those walleye because they've obviously suffered some major barotrauma, and the likelihood of those walleye surviving is quite low. So anyhow, that's if you've ever seen me look in a fish's mouth, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to see if that air bladder has either popped or if it's prolapsed. So anyway, back to the footage here. So this was a much nicer couple of days, these last couple of outings, and Brett and I had caught not only a lot of walleye, but we caught them in short order. As you can see, I lost one there, which wasn't a big deal because the bite was fast and furious. So one of the things I really appreciated about these outings I had with Brett was that Brett is always looking to try new things. I, on the other hand, am a creature of habit typically, and my mantra is typically if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And so you'll notice that I default to the same lure and lure color quite often because not only of historical success but continued success with it. However, having these outings with Brett has kind of expanded my confidence in a variety of different baits. And it's not super easy to tell, but even on occasion when we were using the live minnows, we still attached a stinger hook to the jigs. And the way that I would utilize the stinger is essentially the same exact way that I would if I were using a plastic. So I would hook the stinger in the tail of the minnow, or on occasion I would just kind of let it free flow. And so this is the last clip of the video here. Both Brett and I ended up catching a couple of fish here. We got a double on our last drift. Little hooray for the camera, and then off they go. So hope everyone is doing well. Wanted to say big thank you to Brett for bringing me out a few times this fall. And so hopefully everybody's enjoying themselves, getting out on the water while we still can. And thanks again for tuning in. I will catch you on the next one.